Meet me in the morning.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Father's Day, number one. And when I say Happy Father's Day, it's a very simple sentence, and it could mean a lot because there's fathers that have passed. There's challenges in families, which is real. There's fathers who became dads, not by blood, but by love. So the word Father's Day means so much. It doesn't just mean biological, it means so much. And for all those dads out there, I wish you happy Father's Day. For those that may be dealing with some challenges, I'm just sending you a lot of love today on Father's Day. I'm missing my dad, of course. January 2018, he passed on, and I think about him often, especially today. And you may be able to relate to that. So we just feel the presence. We honor our dads and fathers, and really any male figure who played a positive role in our lives to raise us. So that's really important. And if you didn't have that, my hearts and prayers are with you. So today I want to talk about confusion. I'm going to be giving you some gold today. I mean, really, this is an interesting topic today about confusion. I hope I have your attention. Why would I want to be confused? Well, let me hit you with a quote. A mind that opens to a new idea can never return to its original size. A mind that opens to a new idea can never return to its original size. Albert Einstein was quoted at that. And if you listen to that, it sounds like a good quote. But if you go deeper, it's true. Check in with yourself this morning. As always, it's Sunday. It's June 20th. Can you believe it? June 20th. It's the 20th. Meet me in the morning. By the way, my name's Austin. If you're just getting this for the first time, this is Flashpoint. This is the Meet Me in the Morning special segment that we did. We're 20 days in and a couple commercials. We're going to be doing a private mastermind for those of you who are in my circle. And I'm going to end Meet Me in the Morning probably at the end of the month. Wah, wah, wah. But there's so much more coming. Believe me, so much more coming. Let's talk about confusion today and why you might need more of it, but there's something deeper. Let me jump in. What is confusion as it relates to the mind and learning? Confusion is a state of cognitive disequilibrium triggered by contradictions, conflicts, anomalies, and other discrepant information. It's an intellectual and an emotional state. Whew. I got to recover from that. Confusion is something we feel. I feel like I uncovered a gold brick yesterday when I was going through this. Confusion on the surface is perceived as a negative thing. Confusion. I'm confused. But what's the difference, right? Confused, not confused. The definition I just pulled, or what I just said, was from ScienceDirect.com. And what's interesting, I'll just give you the surface level test that they did, and I'm going to grab my huge distinction that is going to absolutely revolutionize the way you look at this, and it's going to help you grow. It's going to help you grow. I'll leave it there. When they were in a learning environment and they could introduce contradictions, anomalies to said students or test clients, whatever you want to call them, if they weren't confused, they didn't learn something new. It's when they got confused, when they entered a state of confusion, is when they actually learned deeper. Now, what's that mean? Okay, well, you could extrapolate some things on the surface of what that means. But we're going to go a little deeper today. Everybody, are you okay? Are you up for that? Let me know if you're up for that. Good morning, Mandy. The hardest battle can be between what we know in our head and what we feel in our heart. Confusion brings clarity. Now, there's a big distinction here, and I really think this is a huge distinction for anybody that gets this video this morning. There's going to be a huge distinction from this video that I think is going to help you grow. So the idea is that when they introduced in this test environment, when they would attempt to trigger by contradictions, conflicts, anomalies, and other discrepant information, there was no deeper learning unless they went into a state of confusion. Okay, let's go deeper. What's actually happening in the brain? Well, before I go into that, this is the big distinction. And the big distinction is this. In this society, we are programmed to have to know all the freaking answers. What will they think if I don't know all the answers? What will they think if I make a mistake? So the typical response to confusion, in my distinction, that initial cognitive disequilibrium causes people to go into sympathetic mode because of what will people think. And then when you get in sympathetic mode, you immediately go for certainty and predictability. So rather than stay with the confusion, and I'm going to talk to you about the process of what happens in the brain, you go to what you know. Now, in some cases, in survival, that's relevant. But even in survival, you may need to create new distinctions through confusion in order to save your life. Therein lies the paradox. Isn't it lovely? Like, let me hit you with this, right? Where you're coming from is more important than where you're going to. Where you're coming from is more important than where you're going to. That's kind of confusing. What do you mean? That doesn't make sense. I'll talk about that at the end. Remind me. Here's what happens in the brain. Excuse me. Confusion. This is Austin's interpretation. When something new comes into your world and you don't understand it, confusion. I don't know. What's the answer? Pause, because if your initial response, if you have a tough time learning, your initial response might be a resistance to confusion. And when you resist confusion, you block learning because you're going to what you know. You're not opening yourself up to what you don't know. Allow confusion. If it's not a matter of life or death, and I would say that most situations are not, right? But agree? Allow the confusion. Change your response to confusion. Allow confusion to kind of take over. It's that cognitive disequilibrium. It's an intellectual and an emotional state. Allow this to unfold. Because here's what's going to happen. If you can get your little conscious mind, kind of the overreactive monkey brain out of the way, the brain is going, okay, let's go to work. So actually what is happening, if you can stay with this state, allow the confusion, your brain is literally on the edge of creation. How do I know? Because what happens in the brain is it literally, there's a term called neuroplasticity. And I'm sure you've heard this before. It's the brain's ability to form new connections, new distinctions. But just like anything else that's new, building muscle confusion is how people build muscle. Talk to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Talk to any bodybuilder about muscle confusion. I need to confuse my muscles because if it becomes predictable, they don't grow. I need to confuse my muscles. I need to confuse my brain. Because what's going to happen is And by the way, I mean, this is not just haphazardly, go run around. I mean, you embrace confusion in a learning environment, in a learning situation when you're making distinctions, because here's what's going on. Your brain starts the process of neuroplasticity. And what happens is the brain literally gives birth to a new neuron, a brand new neuron in the brain that never existed before. Boom. Talk about a flashpoint. Creation. So creation is happening in the brain. And from my brief overview is that this neuron is horizontal, if you will. And then as it goes over time, it'll flip to being vertical. It forms a new connection. And in about 4 weeks, it becomes excited, the word excited, and stimulated, and the signals start to pop. Just like fireworks. Zoom, 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 zoom. And your brain is never the same again. That's what it means when Albert Einstein said, a mind that's open to a new idea can never return to its former state. I'm paraphrasing the quote. You've heard it. There's different variations of the quote. But once the brain changes, it can never go back to its former state. Because once that new neuron is connected, that neuron fires signals, you're changed forever. And that's the beauty of confusion. But the key here is how you respond to confusion. Because most of us, and this is another broad thing, is that most of the world is operating from sympathetic mode, which means they're operating from a state of fight and flight. So if you get into the world and drivers are rushing around, that's the speed that everybody's operating on. So we must be conscious and aware to be able to be in the world, but not of the world, to be able to go, there it is, but not be sucked into it so that we're pulling ourselves into it. We must stay out of that mode as much as we can, because then when we do that, when confusion sets in, we get excited. Boom, I'm going to learn something. Because my brain is going like this. It's searching for the connections, gives birth to a new neuron. Connection happens, and your brain is changed forever. And the best way to do this is through experience. And that's why the more I get into this space, the more I want to be giving you an experience. Experience is what opens up the brain. Context, history, science, art. It fires new neurons in your brain, and you're never the same again. So that's why when you listen to stuff like this and you get experience, your brain changes. You're never the same again. Recognize that, honor that, allow that confusion. This is not the way I've seen it before, but there's a new distinction that's about to happen. Let me just grab some of your shares this morning. It's Sunday, June 20th. I believe this is gold. I really do. I really and truly do. Gosh, if you can sit with your own confusion and not feel like you have to know the answers right away, the brain's gone to work. Confusion brings clarity. Thank you, Mandy. Clarity is always within. We don't always see it because we get confused with so many options externally that creates confusion. And therein lies the state. Can you allow the emotional state of cognitive disequilibrium and stay with it and start to get excited like something new is coming? Because when you understand the process of what the brain is doing, you're learning. You're going to learn. So allow the confusion, allow that state. Again, to go back to the fitness, it's like muscle confusion. All right. When you're coming from, where you're coming from is more important than where you're going to. Thank you for that reminder. So here's what we're going to do. So what I mean is this. If I'm like this, right? And I'm coming to meet you. Here I am, coming to meet you. I'm going to tell you a thing or two, right? I'm in a state of anger and upsetment. That's where I just came from. So what's going to happen wherever I go? I'm going to bring whoever I interact with, wherever I go, I'm bringing anger and upsetment. But if I'm like this, woo, don't worry, Be happy. And now I show up like that, and that's where I'm coming from. What am I bringing? You see, so where you're coming from is your emotional state. Your emotional state. Where you're coming from is more important than where you're going to. And I'm gonna give you some gold today. I think I said this the other day, but I'm gonna share with you again. Who is the wealthiest person? Who is the wealthiest person? Who are the wealthiest people? Who are the poorest people? The wealthiest people are the people who have nothing but feel rich. The people who have nothing, or from a society standpoint, have nothing but feel rich. The poorest people are people who have everything and still feel like they don't have enough. Confusion, paradox. Where you're coming from is more important than where you're going to. You see, because if I can feel like I have, if I physically in the material world have nothing, but I feel wealthy, I will attract more of real wealth into my world. But if I am a billionaire and I still want more and more and more, I will always be poor, poor, poor. I will be poor in my spirit. How about that? Okay, let me just grab your shares and we're going to close it out. Yeah, change the way you look at things. Allow it to unfold. Allow is so key. See, and in a state of allowance, it's almost like you're allowing your conscious mind to take a breather so that the deeper part of yours can do the work. And I think most of us, we haven't mastered that art because our conscious mind goes in hyperdrive. We get in sympathetic mode, fight, flight, fright. And then we lose the lesson. We lose the growth. Pour a 300-piece puzzle onto the table. Total confusion to how you're going to put it all together. That's a great metaphor. You know, some people love that, right? People that do puzzles, they love the puzzles because they can, it's confusion that they bring into, it's chaos that all of a sudden comes together. A mind open to a new idea never returns to its former state. It's a new neuro connection in the brain. It's literally the edge of creation in your own brain. How beautiful is this? I have a poem on brain connections. We'd love to hear that, Mandy. I'd love to hear that. Cognitive disequilibrium. All right, you'll take it with you because that's the energy you're bringing. Yes, exactly. So where are you coming from today? Will you allow this cognitive disequilibrium, the state of confusion, and somehow have this deep down peace to allow that process to unfold? Allow your growth to happen. Stop getting in your own way. Stop stopping yourself. You're a scientific masterpiece. Like allow it to happen. You know, that's the beautiful, like the challenging thing is we have so much, right? But then at the same time, we can use that energy to get in our own way. The masters who have complete mind control, it's ironic. The complete mind control is the ability to let go, let it happen. Bruce Lee was a master at this, absolute master at being in the moment and not being just fluid with the moment, allowing the brain to do its thing. Yeah, I think that is a state of wealth because and this is what I believe it. Like most people can't be in a state where they lost their material stuff and feel rich. Now, again, I'm not talking about like I don't have food, I don't have shelter, I don't have clothes. Like, I mean, obviously, you got to have food. But there's people that live in incredible, challenging situations and are wealthy because it's wealth of spirit. And I think today's society, it's backwards. There's too much emphasis on wealth of material things and at the loss of spiritual wealth. I mean, I got a loud Jeep here. Wow. Anyway, all right, here we go. I've often said this might be the poorest materially. Might be the poorest materially, but inside I believe this wholeheartedly. But I'm the wealthiest. Yes, yes you are. Yes you are. It's all hardwired inside of you naturally. Bring it to the fore, and you will master your life. Wealth of spirit. Spirit is the core foundation to life. It's beautiful. Yeah, and the Bible verse, I can't quite think about it, but it's basically that don't worry about what you will eat, don't worry about what you will wear. Doesn't God take care of the birds, take care of the animals? They have always have food. And it's the same thing with us now. Most of the world, well, I shouldn't say most of the world. That's not a good statement. But what I mean is that if you have food, you have shelter, you have clothing, it's incredible. And I think I heard Tony Robbins say this, that middle class, even low middle class, maybe even some quote unquote impoverished areas have more wealth than some of the Greek rulers, right, of a couple thousand years ago. Running water, electricity, things that were not even feasible back then. So allow yourself to be wealthy in spirit. Allow your brain to form new connections. Embrace cognitive disequilibrium. Move from sympathetic to parasympathetic. Allow yourself to see if you can relax in a state of confusion. See if you can feel the confusion and allow the process to unfold so that the new distinction reveals itself to you. See if you can work on this today. When something happens where you feel confused, see if you can go, okay, I'm about to learn, and allow that process to unfold. If he can take care of the sparrow, how much more will he take care of you? I've been in the back streets of Barbados and found some exceedingly rich and beautiful human beings. It was humbling to feel their love for life. Yeah, if you step away from the societal norms and you just find people who they're just doing life. They're just living out their purpose, regardless of what society says, regardless of how society perceives. It's a beautiful thing. I trust you got something today from this Meet Me in the Morning number 20. We're going to do all the way up till the end of June. We're getting ready for a interactive mastermind for my community. And if this served you, of course, share it with someone. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And that's it. This wraps up this segment of Meet Me in the Morning number 20. God bless you. Have a fantastic day. Take confusion and make it your friend. Learn and become wealthy. Bye for now.